So I check if I have one last sum product chart, if I have a sum of -9 and a product of 7 times 13, -91, and I'm looking for things that multiply to give me 91 that add up to 9. I know I have 7 and 13, and they are not 9 apart, and since each of them is prime, I know that there are no other factors of 91. I can look at it this way also. I know I have 7 times 13, and neither of those two has any other factors, so I have no other choices but 1 and 91, and those are nowhere near 9 apart. So this polynomial in the numerator is not factorable, so there's no way I can reduce it. So this is my most reduced form. And let's go to the next problem. All right, this problem has a little bit smaller denominators, but I have 1, 2, 3 rational expressions, and again I have no equal sign, so I have to use this build it up strategy because there's no equals, and I have to then multiply by a form of 1. So I want to look at my problem a little more carefully. I have a negative here between my two rational expressions here, so I want to move it to my numerator and change that to a plus in between. That helps me so that I don't lose my negative sign. I just move it up to the numerator. If I had two terms up here, I would move it to each term, distribute it onto the numerator. So I move that negative up to the numerator. Now I'm looking at the denominators. I have x minus 1, and I can't factor that any further, x squared minus 1, and since there's a squared, I should be suspicious and think I bet I can factor, and my last one has an x plus 1, and I can't factor that any further. My x squared minus 1 is the difference of squares, and I can see that I can do x minus 1, x plus 1, which is also going to make my least common denominator pretty easy to find. I need definitely an x minus 1, that's for my first denominator. My second one needs an x minus 1, but I can share, and it needs an x plus 1. And my third denominator needs an x plus 1, so I can share this one here. So I need the x minus 1, this is my first denominator. This one's my third denominator, and the two of them together are my second denominator. So all three denominators are represented here in my least common denominator. Now my strategy, as we wrote over here, I want to build it up, and that means multiply by a form of 1, and I need this as my common denominator. So on my first rational I have x minus 1, and that's this part, but I'm missing the x plus 1, so I'll multiply by x plus 1 over itself, and that's a form of 1, something over itself. And then for my last fraction or rational, I have an x plus 1, which is here, but I'm missing the x minus 1, so I multiply by x minus 1 over itself. And for my middle rational, it already has both. It has my entire LCD, so I don't have to multiply it by anything. That's very nice. Now here for my numerator, I have this 7 to multiply, and I will distribute it. And my third numerator, I have a -5 to distribute. So for my first numerator, I have 7x plus 7, and it will be now over x minus 1, x plus 1, and then I'm adding just a 10x. I didn't have to do anything with that one. X minus 1, x plus 1. My last numerator, I distribute the -5, so I have -5x plus 5 all over x minus 1, x plus 1. Now, since I have the same denominator on all three, I can go ahead and add my numerators. So I have 7x, and I'll have plus 10x, and I'll have minus 5x, and then the constants. I have a positive 7 and a positive 5, and this one didn't have a constant. All of that over x minus 1, x plus 1. Now 7x plus 10x is 17x minus 5x gives me 12x, and then 7 and 5 is 12, so plus 12 over x minus 1, x plus 1. I'm at the point where I need to think about whether I can reduce or not, and I can see both of these terms in the numerator have a 12, so I'm wondering what will happen if I just factor out a 12. I'll have left x plus 1. And that's a thing of beauty because now my denominator has a matching factor of x plus 1 right there that I can reduce because that's just a form of 1, x plus 1 over itself. And that makes my reduced answer 12 over x minus 1. Okay, for this problem, I can see it's a little different. This is probably like something you'll see on your worksheet. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms in my first denominator, 1, 2, 3 in my second denominator, and 1, 2, 3, 4 in my third denominator. And anytime you see 4 terms and you need to factor, you should think factor by grouping. Before I do that though, I want to take care of this negative. I want to move it up to the 5a. So I'll move it up to the 5a and change that to a plus sign. Now, to factor this, I'm looking at the first 2 terms and then the last 2 together. The first 2, I'm looking for a common denominator. I see a 3a. And if I pull out the 3a, I have a 4x left plus a 5. And for the second pair, I'm wondering if I can pull out a 2 and maybe make it a negative 2 so that both of my terms will be positive. So negative 2 and left in the parentheses 4x plus 5. Then I have the 4x plus 5 in common, so a 3a minus 2 times that common 4x plus 5. So that denominator is factored. Now I need to do a sum product chart for the middle denominator because it has 3 terms. So my sum is 1, my product is negative 6. And 2 and 3 are 1 apart. And they multiply to give me 6. One of them has to be negative so that I'll have a positive sum. So I'll put the negative on the 2 so that when I add the 2, I get a positive 1. And there's my pair. And can I use my shortcut? No, I can't. I have a 3 in front of the a squared. So I'll have to substitute in 3a squared. And I can put these in any order I want. And I just decided I'd like to put that 3a next because the 3's will match. And then I'll have a minus 2a minus 2. And for the first pair, I can pull out a 3a. And I have left a plus 1. And for the second pair, it looks like I better take a negative with that 2 and make it also an a plus 1. Now I can double check anytime I pull a negative out, double check to make sure that I have the signs right. So negative 2 times a will give me negative 2a, and negative 2 times 1 does give me a negative 2. So I pulled the negative 2 out correctly. And I have an a plus 1 in common. So I can pull out 3a minus 2 times that common a plus 1. So there's my factored form for the middle term. I'll put a little arrow so we can see. 3a minus 2a plus 1. Now my last denominator is a factor by grouping problem also. And the first pair, I can pull out just an a, it looks like. And I have 4x plus 5 left. And I have a 4x plus 5 there, so I just want to pull out a plus 1. And then my next step is to pull out this common 4x plus 5, and I have left an a plus 1. Then I want to make my LCD, both factors from the first denominator. And then I look at the second denominator. I need a 3a minus 2. I already have one. I need an a plus 1. I don't have that. And then my third denominator, I need a 4x plus 5, and I already have it. I need an a plus 1. I already have it. So I have 1, 2, 3 factors in my LCD. So I want to look at each of my denominators and see what's missing. What do I have to multiply by? Because